Child's been in the car for about 30 minutes. Vehicle's not running in the heat.
In the beginning, she was fine. She was laughing. She was playing. I was like,
of course, but after 30 minutes and over 100 degrees, how do you think that's going to affect her?
please, no, not right now. Not right now. Please.
I'm about to go ahead and have him hook her up because she's getting more agitated and I don't want any issues. She's 100% needs to go to jail.
On July 19, 2025, officers responded to a movie theater after a child was locked in a vehicle for over 30 minutes in extreme heat. What followed raised critical questions about criminal negligence, parental duty of care, and the legal standards for child endangerment. This footage was obtained through a public records request and illustrates how the law distinguishes between mistakes and criminal conduct.
And my siblings just got here, and I had to go get my phone.
You got a punch?
I did.
She's been in there for like 30 minutes already.
Yeah, one of them.
You got one? Go ahead.
I know, baby.
Go other side, other side, other side. Is that fire? Please stand by. See, if you can just advise fire and EMS. The child's been in the car for about 30 minutes. Vehicle's not running in the heat.
Come here, baby.
Are you serious? 30 minutes, ma'am?
Yeah. Hey, come here.
Why would you wait 30 minutes to call us?
You're okay.
I was trying to get her to
I know. Come here, baby.
I didn't have my phone on.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and go with her.
Under child endangerment statutes, prosecutors must prove three elements. First, the defendant had a duty of care as parent or guardian. Second, the defendant knowingly placed the child in substantial risk of serious harm. Third, criminal negligence existed. Criminal negligence requires more than ordinary carelessness. It's a gross deviation from what a reasonable person would do in the same circumstances. The Supreme Court established in Graham v. Connor that reasonableness must be judged from the perspective of a reasonable officer on scene. Similarly, parental conduct is measured against the reasonable parent standard, not perfection. The question becomes, would any reasonable parent spend 30 minutes coaching a 1-year-old to unlock a door?
Man, you can hang tight for a second. Talk to this officer right here. He's going to get some information from you. The degree of annoyed, she waited 30 minutes to call. Like what?
I'm trying to get her done.
30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes in the car.
No AC?
No AC, no nothing.
Why?
She said she was trying to get her to unlock the door and she left her phone at the theater and she didn't want to run back in to get it.
Are you serious?
So serious right now.
Can I go around this way to see her?
I don't know if it's open. You want to stay at the stairway? It's not open. They're trying to keep this. There's AC in there. They're trying to keep the air inside because she's hot.
I just wanted to make sure because I know I didn't call instantly because I was trying to get her to open the door. I didn't have my phone on me. My phone was stuck inside the theater.
What do you mean stuck? Like
it was inside. I didn't have nobody was out here to help me call or anybody, and she was fine. Like she was okay in the beginning.
So the theater's open. Why would you not walk up to the window right there and tell them to call 911 for you?
Because I was trying to get her to open the door. Because in the beginning, she was fine. She was laughing. She was playing. I was like,
of course, but after 30 minutes and over 100 degrees, how do you think that's going to affect her? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
you understand what I'm getting at?
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're getting at. But I'm trying to tell you, it's... Never mind.
Can I get her name?
She's up here at the theater for whatever reason, I'm assuming to watch a movie. She locks herself in the car. So and her phone is already inside the theater somehow, but the baby never made it into the theater. So baby locks herself inside the car. So instead of calling 911 immediately or going to summon help from the window, she tries to get the baby to unlock the door. So baby's not unlocking the door, so she doesn't want to leave the baby to go inside to get her phone to call 911, doesn't want to walk up to the window to get the concierge up there to call 911, so instead waits 30 minutes with this child in this not running hot-ass car.
What was she doing for 30 minutes?
Standing there at the window, trying to talk to baby and unlocking the door.
How long was she in the vehicle for?
I don't know exactly. I estimate maybe 10 to 30 minutes. I don't know. I didn't have my phone on me. I don't know what was going on.
Why was she in there that long?
She was in the vehicle because She was crying in the movie theater, so I took us outside and I sat us in the truck. The doors were open when her door was closed because I didn't want her to get out and run in the road, but the door was open and we were sitting in the truck. I got out to bring us back inside because it was hot, so I closed my door and I went around. But she locked the doors when I went around to go get her, and then she locked herself in the truck. I didn't have my phone on me to call anybody, and I didn't want to leave her out here by herself while I went inside to try and get help from somebody, because anything could happen in the time that I go from here to there. Can somebody take me when I get in my truck to go see her? Like, what can I do?
Who is this? This is your son, or who's he to you?
That's my brother.
This is your brother?
Yes.
Is there another adult here with the car?
No.
Okay.
No. Please. No, not right now. Not right now. Please.
I'm about to go ahead and have him hook her up because she's getting more agitated and I don't want any issues. She's 100% needs to go to jail. What do you think? Yeah, we can do that. You want to go ahead and advise her that she's going to be 10-15 and yeah.
So I don't hold on to this.
Yeah, just go ahead and put her in cuffs.
Yeah. All right, man. Go ahead and turn around for me. Yep, go ahead and turn around for me. Go ahead. Hands behind your back. Thank you. Take 15 for child endangerment.
Yeah.
You're going to be going to jail today for child endangerment.
Okay, that's fine.
Has anybody been in there and talked to the employees inside yet?
Not yet.
So, she was inside with the baby and brought the baby out to the car.
Halfway through the movie or something? Like, what was
That's what but when they started telling me, I was like, hold on, because this is some pertinent information.
You're going to need Tugman. Hold on.
Well, he's getting the number for the child's father.
Okay. Call 305's PX, please. Hey, so she brought the baby in, or?
I did not witness any of it, but I
Okay.
asked them if they saw anything, and so they did say that they
Okay.
saw some stuff, so.
I'm assuming they were watching the movie. They came out to the lobby kind of deal. The kid was kind of like walking around the lobby and stuff, so I noticed that she brought a kid outside. She came back in. She came outside again, but I wasn't aware if she like came back in or not again.
So when she came out, she had the baby with her? Mm-hmm. And did she come back in with the baby, or was the baby?
First time, no. She came back in again, not with the baby as well.
Okay. Did she ever say anything to y'all? Never mentioned like.
She didn't notice us at all, like kind of. She didn't.
Okay. Did she look like she was in a panic or anything like that?
No.
Or didn't look like she was in any type of distress? Were the other children, the other kids, those two older ones, were they with y'all when that happened?
No.
Or with her when that happened? I'm sorry. They were not. Were they still in the movie, or?
I do not. I
Just don't recall seeing
I
them?
saw the boy in the green shorts walk out like twice, but didn't see a child.
And none of them said.
None of them said anything to us. They kind of just were walking in and out a couple times. Like, I saw them standing next to the car, and I'm thinking, it looked from where I was, it looked like the window was down. They were just chit-chatting with whoever was in the vehicle. So, like, I'm thinking nothing of it because that happens all the time. So,
What was the time frame there?
that would have been about 30 minutes ago that I saw the boy walking in and out.
When was the last time you seen the child? She walked out with the child.
Going to guess 20, 30 minutes. I don't know.
So probably what she said, about 30-minute time lapse. The baby was already hot to the touch. So she had been in there for.
A baby inside the movie theater, and she sent the brother out here back and forth to go check on him. Oh,
That's what it's. That's what. I'm sorry. Hey. So. Sorry. Let me walk away real quick. So. Basically, this lady, she's in there watching. What I'm gathering is she's in there watching the movie, and I'm thinking that maybe the baby was showing out during the movie. So, and it's a little baby. She's about to turn 1. So she brings the baby out here to the car, and puts the baby in the car unintentionally. I think unintentionally locks the baby in the car, but a 30-minute time lapse goes by where she is trying to coach the 1-year-old to unlock the door, which is not going to happen because she's 1. And from what the theater is saying, she had come back into the theater twice after the baby was already locked in the car. Did not appear to be under any type of distress, and never once asked him to summon for help.
The mother's own statements established awareness of the danger. She acknowledged the child was initially fine, but conditions deteriorated. This consciousness of developing risk, combined with failure to act, distinguishes criminal negligence from an honest mistake. Theater witnesses provided critical testimony. The mother returned inside at least twice, appeared calm, never mentioned the emergency. This behavior contradicted her explanation and demonstrated multiple opportunities to seek help that she chose not to take. Officers had overwhelming probable cause for arrest. The child's physical condition, environmental factors, timeline, and witness corroboration established every element. Probable cause requires facts sufficient to warrant a prudent person to believe a crime occurred. Here, the evidence was undeniable. The fire department's decision to breach the vehicle was legally justified under emergency doctrine and exigent circumstances. When immediate danger exists and time is critical, emergency personnel can act without consent to prevent harm. The child showed classic signs of heat injury, profuse sweating, red face, obvious distress. Immediate extraction was medically necessary.
For the baby that was in the car, and the baby was obviously in distress. The baby was obviously in distress. Yeah, she was sweaty. She was beet red. She was... Oh, no, she's going to jail. Right, at like 100% going to jail.
So you left from here after she got locked in the car. You left from here, went back inside?
No.
Okay. You were standing out here the whole time?
Yes, I was standing out here the whole time with her.
Okay. Did you try to flag anybody down? Hey, can you call 911?
No, because, there was nobody out here to, that I could get to, and I was trying to get her to unlock the door, because she knows how to unlock the door. She just didn't want to.
Okay, if she wasn't unlocking the door, how come you didn't just run inside real quick to the desk and say, hey, call 911, my kid's locked in the car?
I didn't want to leave her out here by herself.
It would have been 2 seconds rather than, how long, 30 minutes?
I don't know how long it was.
That's what I'm saying, see? You don't have you said between 10 and 30 minutes, right?
Yes,
between 10 and 30 minutes. Rather, 2 minutes and then 5 minutes response to you immediately, or 10 minutes standing here at the car staring at her through the glass. Okay. Go ahead, come with me.
Yes, sir.
I'll get your items on the way up.
Yeah.
Son, you want 83? I'm going to grab her item. You get her statement?
Write a statement.
Okay, these guys over here?
Yeah. Scan it. That's going to be just your basic information, and on the other side is a statement. Just briefly write down kind of what you told us. If you could kind of explain to Officer Tugman, he's the one that's going to be...
Okay.
I'll be taking the report, so...
Okay.
Yeah. So if you could just kind of give me... We'll step inside where, if you want to step inside where it's a little cooler. Do you have a pen?
No. Well, there is one under.
Based off of this, if you could just kind of give me another... Just another... explanation of what you seen, what you saw.
Okay. Yeah, that's just basically about it. She walked in out here she was started over there, walked out here. Baby was messing around with the toys and stuff.
Okay.
I noticed she went back, and she went outside with the baby. She came back in and out, I think once or twice.
Okay.
No baby with her the first time.
Okay.
I didn't know where the baby was. I didn't know if she went to go watch her movie again. And that's kind of all I picked up. She seemed incredibly neutral, so I didn't really think anything was up or anything.
Okay. And if you had to estimate about the same, the time frame?
Again, about 30, 40 minutes ago kind of deal.
Okay. Okay. All right. Do you go ahead and raise your right hand for me? You swear that everything you put on here is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? You're going to go ahead and sign for me? All right, thank you so much. Yeah. You ladies take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While parents have fundamental liberty interests in raising their children, established in Troxel versus Granville in 2000, this right is not absolute. Prince versus Massachusetts in 1944 confirmed the state's authority to protect children from parental conduct that creates substantial risk of harm through its parens patriae power. The reasonable person test is straightforward. Would a reasonable parent have recognized the danger, and would they have acted differently? Any ordinary person understands that a 1-year-old cannot manipulate a lock mechanism on command, and that heat kills children rapidly. The theater was visible, accessible, and staffed. Running inside would have taken seconds. This was not a difficult decision. Officers demonstrated professional investigative technique. They verified the mother's account through independent witnesses before making the arrest decision. They documented physical evidence, obtained formal statements, and ensured the child received proper medical assessment. This thorough approach distinguishes professional law enforcement from reactive policing and ensures cases can withstand legal scrutiny. We assigned the mother a grade of F. She had countless opportunities to prevent or immediately remedy this dangerous situation. Her decision to persist in a obviously futile strategy for over 30 minutes, while having multiple clear alternatives available, constituted a gross deviation from reasonable parental conduct. Her returns to the theater without seeking help were particularly damning. The only reason this is not lower is the absence of intentional harm in her cooperation during arrest. The responding officers receive an A-. They prioritized child welfare, conducted a thorough investigation, and made a lawful arrest. Their questioning was direct and firm but remained professional. The minus reflects one officer's comment about being annoyed, which, while understandable, could be characterized as showing bias. Officers should maintain neutral language even in private conversations on camera. The theater witness receives a B+ for providing clear, factual testimony that corroborated the timeline and contradicted the mother's explanation. She had no legal obligation to cooperate but chose to assist the investigation with specific, valuable information. The fire department receives an A for rapid response, appropriate use of force to access the child, and professional medical assessment. Their actions likely prevented this incident from becoming a tragedy. This case teaches several critical lessons. First, in emergencies involving children, immediate action is always the right choice. Seeking help from others takes seconds. Attempting to handle it alone can cost lives, especially when the solution isn't working. Second, the law recognizes a fundamental difference between honest mistakes and sustained poor judgment. A momentary lapse can be forgiven. A 30-minute pattern of failing to take obvious, available steps crosses into criminal territory. Third, parental rights are not unlimited. When parents fail to meet minimum care standards, particularly in clear danger situations, the state has both authority and obligation to intervene through criminal prosecution and child protective services. Fourth, witness cooperation is essential to justice. The theater employee's testimony was crucial in establishing what actually occurred versus what the mother claimed. Citizens who witness concerning behavior and provide honest statements help protect vulnerable children. Finally, this case demonstrates that criminal negligence doesn't require intent to harm. It requires a failure to perceive obvious risks that any reasonable person would recognize, combined with a gross deviation from standard care. The law holds parents to this baseline, not because perfection is expected, but because children's lives depend on adults making rational decisions in emergencies. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out our second channel, Audit the Court, for even more police interaction and courtroom content.